I'm Margaret in Windsor, and I wanted to put this video up before, well, now, for whatever reason. I guess what I wanted, I don't guess, I'm in pretty bad shape. Hope things get better. I was thinking about Janet Reno, who was the U.S. Attorney General under the Clinton administration, who ordered the Waco and all those people died in the fire and children and everything. Uh, I think if you if you could go through my life and correlate where I'm at the times, specifically this time in the Ramsey, John Bonet, uh, not just that, let's just say 2 times there, you get the gist. There's paper trail, if nothing else. When I took the box neatly, as hard as it was to carry out, it couldn't even afford a bus ticket, the bus ticket up there. I walked down to didn't live, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. I'm giving stuff there's no need. I delivered stuff to the Congressman Ronnie Flippo. I can't, Thomas, what's his name? He was a Clinton person and a Kennedy person. Anyway, I was told that people think that there's plenty of people know about me. They just don't do anything and they won't tell about it. But I'm up there, and this is 1982 early, I guess. It was after the Hinckley had shot the president. So you get the James Baker name. James Baker, that worked for Regan, still alive. They interviewed him now that Bush is dead. Well, he was part of the Bush, too. So, anyway, it's a name game, kind of, because he's not the same James Baker that was signed the letter from the U.S. Attorney's Office in an Atlanta ongoing investigation, national security involved. James Baker signed the letter. He was assistant U.S. attorney under William Harper. And you had some good people back well, I did, that tried to help me along with the Brits and Germans. You had some very good U.S. Attorneys and some good FBI, like in Huntsville, Atlanta. There was a segment that was trying to help. Anyway, what I meant to just say is there's paper trails. I cannot believe that some attorneys, well, I know one that's good, maybe he'll follow through, be able to. I hope he hadn't switched sides. That's a joke you wouldn't understand. Anyway, what was I going to say? I was going to get specific here. When I took that my book with the letter from the FBI, last time I saw the letter from the FBI, it was on the outside and inside. I had 2 letters from the FBI. One was from Agent Guest, or Guess. I can't remember. I had a letter signed by him in ink, red ink, sent mailed to me. Anyway, where am I going with this? This is after being up there prior, not having a place to live, being out at night on the streets of D.C. Oh my God, please. Terrifying in the shape I was in. Going back to Huntsville, and then couldn't, my home I had, my job had been gotten to. I guess that was the end of that job. I was supposed to go where I went, I guess. And I'm babbling to some people unless this is all told. And then it's a little too late, I guess. When I say all told, they managed to tell it on the Illuminati-controlled media. Anyway, I'm just going to go to this. I was up there in the earlier part. Then in October, I walked out with the book, carrying it in a satchel. and the letters from the FBI and other stuff in that. Copies of where I'd sent the book to publishers, etc. So I'm not going to go into that all again. What I'm saying is there's trails left. Insurance, like doctors, the insurance that my husband had through the years, he had some pretty good there for a long, long time where he worked and everything. So there's paper trail in it that I don't think you could destroy it all. Of course, they've done a good job on destroying my dad and making out that he married Wallace Simpson when a double did. He married Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, my mom, from Madison, Wisconsin. Beautiful lady, sister artist Georgia O'Keefe. So they've pretty much destroyed him. History still states that he married Wallace. That was a double, an imposter. He's married to my mom and I'm going to leave it here. They were alive and married to each other in October the 20th of 86 when I came to Roanoke. Now I want to get to this. When I came out of D.C., walking and carrying this bag that I could hardly carry, I didn't have the money for a bus, carried it to the executive mail room at the White House, logged it in this great big book that you have to log stuff in, and out comes on his lapel is Regan. He's Reagan's adopted son. That's he's host on some of the programs. I think he still is. And I was told by a lady just prior to leaving, and I was walking out, and it was cold. It was in October, 1st of October. I'm walking out trying to get back to Atlanta. I have a divorce. If I was divorced, which it was filed, and I should have had alimony if nothing else. But good old me, I didn't want to ask. Well, at this time, I was in bad enough shape. I was going to try to force him to give me alimony. Well, that didn't work out. Worked out that I turned this book over, letter from the FBI, and on the way down, me walking and getting into a car to get a ride and hoping I wasn't raped, I walked a lot of the way. Two Irishmen picked me up at a convenience store there. I'd gotten in. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning and cold, and didn't have money for coffee even to get out of the cold and be so afraid. Anyway, they gave me a ride to Martinez. It's either South or North Carolina. Now, here's what happened from then on. They dumped me out at, that's where it happened. They dumped me out in Martinez. And I got a ride with a guy that was into building construction. He had the name on the truck. I thought, well, I'm left to either walk and I can't walk all the way. Nobody's helping me. They're blocking me. So I got in trouble with him, and therein the disaster happened. Thomaston, Georgia is there. There's a forest there, national forest. I was so tired, I showed him the letter from the FBI, and I had all the stuff on me. And I just passed out. I hadn't slept. I had walked. I had carried that bag. And he seemed nice enough, and he was on his way to Atlanta. He had the building company on the side of his truck. Next thing I know, I wake up, and I'm in the middle of the forest, and I'm not going to go any further with it. I thought he was going to kill me. I remember it was by the side, and what this trailer was doing out in the middle of the forest, I don't know. But it was number 16. And that was all. That's all I saw. And the sorry SOB, I hope there's somewhere that, anyway, he took the book and he took everything, my purse and everything. I was left with nothing and tied up. I happened to hear some people, their voices, so I went through the trees and the brush and got to it. They called the sheriff's department. They took me to the hospital, and how in the heck? Okay, by this time, Thomaston, Georgia, that's on Highway 20, I think, out of going into Atlanta. I end up in Lawrenceville, Georgia. I know it was. And they pulled some strands of hair out of my head. They took my clothes, and the sheriff and all that. And then I was told later that the doctor was called in to see me. Was the doctor? He was retired. This is in Lawrenceville, Georgia, now, where they took me. I'm trying to make sure this is. It is. And I'm not real sure that. Okay, it was later that the Lawrenceville, Georgia, happened, and the doctor was brought there that was retired, and he was there with Larry Flint when he was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia. So I don't remember the hospital I was taken to. Thomaston, that's would be the next town. That's where the forest where I was taken, and everything stripped, the letter from the FBI, the book, all of it that was in there. And so there's records is what I'm saying. I know they've done a good job of destroying records about my mom and dad. If they can do that, they could do all this to me. It's a lot of this has to do with where they had me, like at the Waco and the Ramsey. Not when she was murdered. I was up on the mountain. But when her parents were almost locked up and interviewed, it's where they had me. It's not funny. I mean, I want to jump to the Waco, though. It's where I was then. Nothing funny about it. David Koresh it's what he was trying to write about and tell. I think it's biblical. I can't remember. They said something on HLN. Was a Turner Broadcasting, started out years ago, prior to 80, and I'm doing the book and almost killing all this, letter from the feds. He sold it to CNN. These people, the press, my husband and I went to them before, after, ongoing, sending stuff, taking it, hand delivering it to the press, and they didn't want it. They didn't want it. Anyway, CNN last night had the century's most infamous murders. So they listed one by one the ones I have already said a long time ago were done in patterns and can be proven. But you have to get it before a court of law and the media, or people won't listen or won't respond. My thing here, I guess, and I'm sure there's something else I wanted to say. The Janet Reno came to mind, and the David Koresh and some other stuff. The Eric Rudolph. He's in prison. All these people in prison. Scott Peterson's on death row. And you get the shooting of Ronald Reagan. Well, now let me get back to this. Where's the paper trail coming out of Ronald Reagan signing in that big book that you have to sign in, and going and getting raped and everything stripped off of me and left in the forest in October? Police were called in. I go into Atlanta, finally make it, and all hell is meeting me there. That's where it started out to be Secret Service Cawley and Cox. And it turned out to be Phil Call, C-A-U-L, and Cox. I forgot his last name. They had contacted my ex-husband. I didn't do anything wrong. I had a letter from the FBI. I did nothing wrong other than go to the White House under Ronald Reagan and turn over the stuff about his shooting and about the Hinckley, the Bushes were friends of Hinckley's parents, had dinner the night before. John Hinckley was programmed. Mark David Chapman, they told about that last night on the HLN, CNN. Only they don't tell the truth about the thing that I'm going to stop right here. This paper trail somewhere, as too many people still know. All you have to follow is my footsteps through it, and you can see how it connects. Now, on CNN last night, before I get kicked out of here for telling the truth, and people make noise all over the place and do things that'd be used to get me just out. Anyway, last night, someone who contacted me, and she's a relative, and stated that she knew the minute she saw me on Facebook that it was true that I'm related to her and who my father is. All of it's true. So anyway, if I don't get this confused, I'm so tired. Even this morning, I've got stuff to do and it's cold out. I got clothes to get out. It's just kind of cold this morning to get out. So where did I get to? On CNN last night, this relative of mine, she contacted me on Facebook and confirmed and even sent some things. The one that did speak out, and there's one that a lady that's a distant cousin that last Christmas was the reason I got Christmas, a beautiful lady. And now then back to this before it slips my mind. All you have to do is follow me and the places I went and worked and etc. and got beat up and was taken to the hospital or raped and ongoing. Okay, the Secret Service. I'm back from Regan and dropping it off and getting taken out in the forest and the book taken off, the letter from the FBI, all of it. And my purse, however, was sent to Jack Hartsfield, FBI reporter, who saved my life really before this time, before then this happened. Okay, now I go into Atlanta. Let me remind you, I had a letter. I haven't threatened anybody. I haven't broken the law. You got list after list after list of crimes committed against me. Not touched. Against my children, none of them touched. Prosecuted anything. So I simply go, and I'm walking again. In the condition I'm in, I'm minus my book and the big satchel I was dragging down the side of the friggin' road, interstate. Got an alimony that would keep me off the street if I couldn't get a job. Okay, now I go back and I walk out to the Cobb County Police. I hope this is going up. In Marietta. And I had gotten a night or two stay at a cheap motel there in Marietta that I knew of or knew where it was and everything. And it was walking, not really, but I walked a long way to get to the Cobb County Police Department. I was going to sign to force them to make my husband give me some alimony to get me off the street, a place to live. I remember he showed up, and he's involved in all this, good or bad, but I was begging for some Tylenol or aspirin. I had been beaten up, and I've already told you the other, and besides walking and starving and not having sleep. And he took me down the street to a convenience store. I had to walk, can you believe it? And I can remember being kind enough, and I said, "Can you afford some aspirin or Tylenol?" Anyway, I won't get into what he was a part of all this. You wonder whose side he's on, really. So anyway, I go out to because I'm not going to have a place to stay. I walk out to the police department, and guess who shows up? The investigator. I forgot his name. Inspector took me back there and let me fill out where I wanted to get my alimony, and he looked at me and he said, "Are you sure this is your name?" And I said, "Well, yes." I didn't know that perhaps because I hadn't been told about Margaret Ann Windsor. At least I couldn't consciously tell it, they say. I always knew. Anyway, I gave him the name, Peggy Ann Dempsey Childers. So then they said, "You sure about your eye color?"